Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. 2007, 2008, I wrote a role-playing game with my writing partner, Victor Gibson, Hot Chicks the Role-Playing Game. It was not meant to be anything big when we started. 454 pages, turned into kind of complex, and let me work out a lot of my issues with what writing a role-playing game was going to be like. It turned out better than I thought. But I've had to grow a lot since I wrote it in a number of ways. I mean, it's Hot Chicks, for God's sake. In that book, I wrote a phrase that encapsulated, at the time, what was my ideal plot, goal, and cycle for role-playing in that setting. A setting where it was just rife with villains who needed a certain amount of justice performed upon them. And the phrase that would encapsulate why are we here, what are we doing, what are we trying to get to, and what happens after that. The phrase I came up with was, beat up the bad guys, take their stuff, lather, rinse, repeat. A phrase I like so much I put it on the back of the book. That is not a bad cycle for a game to go in. The player characters find out that something is wrong, and as a result, someone needs to get beaten up for it. You follow the clues and go to where this bad guy is, bad gal, bad person. You go to where the bad person is. Perhaps beating up other bad people on the way. There are mooks or lieutenants, other minor bosses, before you get to the boss fight. You have the boss fight, you take the boss's stuff. You use the boss's stuff to improve yourself, either using their equipment as your own equipment, or selling their resources, taking their money, using it to buy training or magic items or kung fu lessons, and go after the next probably bigger boss and all the stuff in between. Beat up the bad guy. Take their stuff. Lather, rinse, repeat. It's simple and at a beer and pretzels level of game. It's been a rough week. I'm sitting down at this table with my friends. I want to roll some dice and I want to hear some descriptions about how I am enacting simple justice with effective action. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone needs that game. Everyone needs that game once in a while, even if they have come to different understandings of what role-playing can be. Every game needs that session. Sometimes you just need to work it out. You just need to roll dice. I roll to hit. I do damage. Is the bad guy down yet? I roll to hit again. Oh, I got hit? Awesome. Do I have that many hit points? Sure. I rolled a hit again. It's not a bad style of play. It is simple. It is basic. It is uncomplicated. And if that is all you are doing, eventually it's a little boring. Switch games and do the same stuff. You switch genres and do the same stuff. Beat up the bad guys, take their stuff, lather, rinse, repeat in space. That's not a bad byline, actually. In this process, however, there is a lot of room for complications. And as I have run a lot of games since then, I ran a lot of games before then. A lot of my background at the time in 2007 went into writing this role-playing game. A lot of thoughts that I had to compile in my head when I was part of the documentary. And there were just all these interviews about role-playing style and what role-playing was to me. Really frame stuff, so I had to get it out somehow. And since the game has come out, God, that was... Hot Chicks, the role-playing game, came out in 2008, I believe. Which is 12 years ago. And it doesn't seem like that much time could possibly have passed, but that much time has passed. I am a older person now with a lot more experience, and I've played a lot more games with different people and different groups. And beat of the bad guys, take their stuff, lather, rinse, repeat is not something that's ever going out of my repertoire. That is always going to be baseline. I've got nothing. Here's a bad guy. He needs to be beaten up. Go do something about it. Because I can do that in my sleep. I believe technically I have. But as time goes on, and that starts to wear thin, because it is so easy, there's very little challenge. It doesn't pull on the arts that I have compiled as a game master. The writing or the acting or the improvisation, all of which are skills that need to be developed and can really lend to more interesting experiences. The complications are where the real interesting stuff comes in. You can break that style, the beat of the bad guys, take their stuff, lather, rinse, repeat. You can break that down to an even more basic format. Discover there is a goal, achieve the goal, be rewarded for the goal, discover there is a higher goal. You always want there to be an upward spiral of activity. By the time you get back around to that goal, it is the next level up of that goal, whether using a level system or not. Characters need to progress, characters need to grow, and in role-playing games, the fairly easy way to reflect character growth, is experience or growth or advancement. They're another level higher. They've got more character points. They've got a higher improvement budget. So now they can have more stuff. Their stats can improve. They've got better equipment. They've got more skills. They've got more powerful abilities. That's the easy way to reflect growth. In literature, growth is reflected in more complicated ways. In our daily life, growth is reflected in more complicated ways. I mean, I can say I've put another 15 points into my game mastering skill, so it's much easier for me to succeed at the more difficult roles. Or I can say I've had a lot of additional perspective. I've had to take in a more inclusive point of view for my own sake and the sake of people that I game with. I have to encourage a certain amount of diversity, and I need to include complexity that I discovered in this play. My improvisation skills have gotten better. My writing skills have improved. And as a result, I want to include more deep plots, more character development, more opportunities for dialogue. I want to play stories, not just games. To this end, when you introduce the here is a goal, defeat the goal, get rewarded for the goal, here is a goal, or a higher goal model, which that's just about every role playing game out there. Depending on who's writing it, you can break that model, but it's rare to find that model broken. Role playing games are generally task oriented. You start switching out the goals. Beating someone up is satisfying. There's a visceralness that we tell the stories of our society in terms of conflict and combat, and we have this attraction to enacting the will of our moral code through the strength of our arms, and understanding that there's people out there that just need to be put in their place because they're hurting other people, and you need to stop that. Okay, but just once run a game where you have to get medical supplies through an earthquake ridden, avalanche filled mountain range to a village on the far side that will die if you do not make it in a certain amount of time. You let the player characters build characters who have stakes in that village. They got family there. They're from that village, or someone that they know is there. A healer that you trained under went there to help and got the message out that they need this medicine. But now the earthquake season has hit. There's a monsoon. Tidal waves are going to come, and you need to get through this dangerous area to help those people. And if you don't, no one will. And if you fail, they die. Anything stakes other than beating up a bad person. Or you go the route of, say, classic Star Wars, and, oh yeah, there's the bad guy. But that's someone you have a reason to care about. That is someone, whether you've known them before or not, they're related. There's something in them that tells you, I shouldn't just beat this person up. I shouldn't just kill them. And that's not what I would do. I should try to help. And sometimes maybe you have to kick their ass a little to get them to a point where you can help them. But that's not what you're there to do. You're there to find out what it takes to reach in there, and even if it costs you your own life, you're going to try and bring them back. Bring them back or die trying. You're an explorer. You need to find out what is over there for no other reason than, well, maybe we're resource poor. And if someone doesn't go out and find us new resources, we're not going to make it. We can't grow. We can't succeed. Our people are going to start dying. Someone needs to go and everyone says it's very dangerous over there. Everyone says that's where the demons are. That's where all the problems are. That's, people don't come back from there. But if we don't find resources, we're not going to make it. Who's going to volunteer to go out there and find what we need? Whose love of discovery is going to drive them past all the hardship to find what we need to live? That's a hell of a game. Oh, there's going to be some combat involved in that, I assure you. But at the same time, oh no, there are people there look really, really angry. They're not like us, and I think they're probably going to try and kill us. Well, okay, hang on. You know what? If we just strike out, we are going to lose any chance we have of a diplomatic solution or maybe finding allies in this place where we badly need some. I'm going to go talk to him. But you don't need to. I'm going to go talk to him. And if they kill me, then you try and kick their ass, or you run depending on how badly my ass gets kicked. But I'm going to give it a try. I want to play that character. I may already have played that character. There are so many ways to tell a story. And that conflict doesn't just need to be bad guy, go beat him up. Can be. You can take any one of those scenarios and introduce a bad guy. That at any point in time, there is someone who's deliberately trying to make this situation worse. There is someone hunting you down. There is someone out there who does not want you to reach this goal and doesn't care what they have to do to make you fail. Let's take a couple of sessions and go kick their ass. Can we do that? Can we beat up the bad person and take their stuff? You know what? Yeah. Yeah, you have exhausted all the rest of your options. That person is not going to stop until they have made you fail. Go make them stop trying to make you fail. Always take a step out of a new model to go back to an older one. You can always take a step out of a complicated situation to engage in a simpler one. Just as if you're engaged in something that's fairly simple and you start to see people around the table checking their phones or knitting or playing other games entirely on their computers while they're randomly picking up dice and critting on your monsters, I will never forgive you for that. You know who you are. But if you start to see that, you can assume they don't feel like playing the game today, or you need to change your rhythm. You need to change the goal and the complication ratio. You need to switch it up a little bit. Be it the bad guys take their stuff, lather, rinse, repeat is one club in your golf bag. It is one tool on the shelf. It is just one way of getting from the beginning of the session to where everyone puts their dice away and says, we'll meet next week. It is not the only way. It is probably not the most rewarding way. Not in my experience, it isn't. It is one of the simplest. It is the one that everyone more or less expects. It's the reason that the combat section is the largest section in just about any role-playing game. This is, we're getting together, we're rolling dice. It's going to be combat, right? Often, not always. But it's only one thing. Have that tool. Be ready to go to that tool. That's your basic hammer. That is the simplest thing. And in a pinch, the hammer will solve most of your problems. But sometimes you need the wrench. Sometimes a saw is way better for getting two pieces of wood apart, or getting one piece of wood broken into two. You can do it with a hammer, but if you use the saw, you can use it better afterwards. Have a bunch of tools. I have very limited taste in movies. Movies with kung fu and robots and Muppets and explosions and scenes in space usually top my list. Movies where, be it the bad guys take their stuff, lather, rinse, repeat, is a fair plot summation. There may be some complications in there, but ultimately they're fighting lieutenants until they get to the boss. I mean, I'm just going through my let's see, what movie would I go to at the moment if I really, and the comes to mind, Showdown in Little Tokyo. It's one of my favorite movies. It's not a great movie. It's one of the few that Brandon Lee was able to give us. Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren in an 80s buddy cop movie. There's nothing better than that. It is not complicated. Most of the action comes from, or most of the stuff outside of the sheer just beating stuff up comes from the amazing interaction between the characters. If you've got good players at your table, you're going to get some good interaction out of your players. I can't push it enough. The group that I do the D&D podcast with, the Layer Action at thelayeraction.com. One of the things that makes those games so rewarding and so presentable to me is that there is just amazing character interaction. I throw Mortal Kombat out. I throw a thin pastiche of Enter the Dragon in fantasy at them as an adventure, and they turn it into a soap opera, and they do it so well, I gotta run with it. It is so good, just because of how the characters interact. And when you, as a dungeon master, game master, storyteller, what have you, when you throw a situation, you give them a choice to make, you sit back, and you can watch the show. You can listen to this dialogue. You can listen to the people plumbing their characters. Well, this is what my character would do. And how dare you think we're going to go and do this? Well, hey, don't look at me. I'm not the person born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Maybe coming from the streets, I got to think. And all of that, that is what makes the role-playing experience good for everyone at the table. You included as the person running the game. And to get to that level, to get to that interaction, to get to where people have to talk about things, go beat up the bad guy. Shall we go beat up the bad guy? Yes. Yes, we should go beat up the bad guy. Okay, let's go beat up the bad guy. That's not complicated. It's not an interaction. If there's not just a little angst. But I love the bad guy. But the bad guy is my son. Okay. All right. That's a good start. That's a good way to do this. But what about the kitten stuck in the tree? But what about the banking industry that's crashing this kingdom to the ground? What do we do? The more things you throw, the more stuff you have to throw as the problem that needs to be solved, the more opportunities people have to reach into their character. If it's something that the characters aren't even vaguely aware of, haven't been involved in, aren't skilled in, if they need to learn about this and do some investigation, finding out how those characters, not the players, although finding out how the players interact with this stuff is one thing, finding out how the characters interact with it, how the players have to reach into that. Okay, well, I need to determine what my character thinks about this. What's my character's background? What's my character gone through? How are they going to react to this? That's good. It's good stuff. I love doing that as a player. I love having to work out, wait, what's my character going to do about this? How would this character react? And when I can get that same depth out of players on the other side of the table, that's a good day. That's a good session. So by all means, beat up the bad guy. Take their stuff. And then, do that again. But mix it up. Well, thank you very much for following me on this particular rant through my philosophies role-playing. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have your own experiences with cycles and role-playing and the plot structure that seems to show up more and more often and often, anything you'd like to hear me talk about, subjects you'd like to hear me cover, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, make sure you hit the notification bell too, so that you're alerted when my videos become available. If you'd like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum. Consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time in the next Matters of DeCorum.